Tell me, if I have 2 million dirhams right now, and with what the situation is, do I keep it, hold it, or do I invest? And if I invest, where? And when you look at Ras Al Khaimah, as you know, the prices were 2,500 dirhams per square feet. What do you think, how much of an effect it's going to have in Ras Al Khaimah?
It's a very, very good question. But we will have an answer once this settles.
There's a lot of Dubai bashing going on the internet. What's your thought on that? Why are people so aggressively bashing Dubai?
I ask people, would you go back if this continues? They say no, because we don't feel that fundamentally anything has changed from where we came.
Commercial property prices drop more than the residential property prices. Is that true or a myth?
They will say now the premium is higher for developing more, the risk is lower, I want to double down.
We've lived here for a very long time. We know what the country and the city offers. It's a great life, safety, security, your kids being brought up in an absolutely wonderful environment.
Like, I've been here for a long, long time. But I think there has been a difference in the last few days in my mindset.
Yeah.
And it has become stronger. And I know that's the case with a lot of people.
When I see it right now with all the tensions going on, and we've not experienced this tension ever before in the region, I am very calm about everything.
So, Jatin, this is actually people getting a new experience of something that they don't have.
Developers will come out with slightly better offers, payment plans.
There will be some developers which would not need to do that.
Ash, this is your second time in Deep Talks podcast. I think you're the first guest coming for the second time.
Really? Okay.
Welcome to Deep Talks again.
Thank you very much.
It's always good to have you. Ash, you've been here 23 years. I've been here about 15 years. You've seen more crisis in Dubai than I have, or in the world, for example, 2008 financial crisis and then COVID, stuff like that. And we've bounced back out of every crisis, which is what humans do. I'm sure we will bounce back from this crisis as well. But we can't deny that there is tension in the region with whatever's going on. And we've seen a number of people, including us, we've built our businesses here. And we've seen a number of people who are heavily invested in the region, in Dubai, UAE. And these are obviously people who are playing long-term games, trying to create businesses here, bring up their families here, build wealth here, try to live a good life here. So when I see it right now with all the tensions going on, and we've not experienced this tension ever before in the region, I am very calm about everything. But you are in real estate talking to investors every single day. Tell us, what is firstly your opinion, and what do you think fundamentally is going on ground zero?
So, Jatin, this is very different. Let me start with that. This is not a financial crisis. This is actually people getting a new experience of something that they don't have. You know, the people who have been in these kind of situations, they are saying that, we don't even feel that there is something happening, right? But for the people who have never experienced this, especially in the beginning, it was a bit overwhelming, because then you feel, you've never felt that somebody is sending missiles towards you. So you don't know how to react to that. So this is very different fundamentally. It is very, very important to know that there is nothing on the ground that has really changed in the way the life goes on here. We did not know that in the first 48 hours, but we know that now. Because in the first 48 hours, we do not know our reaction. Then we did not know other people's reaction. We did not know government's reaction. We don't know a lot of things were very, very unknown. And as we go into this, we have more clarity about everybody's, understanding of the situation. And our own understanding of the situation is growing. My own understanding of the situation is increasingly growing every day, right? So now I know the mechanisms that I have mentally. And this is a mental crisis more than anything, right? Nobody, yes, there has been some damage here and there. There has been some situations that we've all heard of. We get alerts every now and then. And it really depends on how we manage our minds, which is what 99.9% of us will actually get impacted by. Only 0.01% of us will actually probably get directly impacted by something that is happening. On the ground, there is nothing really changed. So I have come to terms that this is about mindset and how to behave mentally in a situation like this. This is the first time for me. I'm learning on the go, but I'm also learning from people around me. And I'm glad to tell you one thing, that more people I meet, the more my understanding is that people are much, much, much more resilient in reality than we assume them to be when we think about these situations mentally.
So the fear of fear is bigger, but actually, when it's really happening,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel so exaggerated, is what you're saying.
Yes. The reality is, the unknown is what people fear,
Yeah.
and the fear of fear is bigger than the fear itself.
Right.
And the reality on the ground is much different, and it's developing towards one direction only, which is not panic.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And when we went through this crisis, when this started, a couple of days we were all trying to figure out what's actually happened. But since it started till we are right now on about 10 days, or slightly more than 10 days, I believe, not even once I've hit anything close to the panic button. In fact, my thoughts have always been that this is home and I'm staying here.
So what I'm talking about is the direction of that thought. So it is becoming stronger towards that direction as a whole.
Yeah.
As I meet people, like I've got a friend, and this is very funny. They left immediately, and now every day get at least two calls from him. How's the situation? Like, because they are waiting for it to get ready for them to come back,
Yeah.
right? So that tells me that, you know what, given the choice again, I will choose what I chose initially, that be here and decide my thresholds, and be comfortable here, because I feel that people who have left are also uncertain about when they want to return, and they are actually more eager than anybody else. And also they are getting bored. Like I was at friend's house yesterday. I was having fun. We were playing some games. We were absolutely socializing and okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. But there's a lot of Dubai bashing going on the internet. Literally 1 hour after we got hit, people have started bashing Dubai online, saying, a lot of them saying, see, I told you, see, it's not the safest place. I'm really not sure why that's happening. And this is almost in thousands every single day. I try to defend a lot of that because I felt it is my moral duty to do that. But what's your thought on that? Why are people so aggressively bashing Dubai?
For me, that is a noise at the last rung of the ladder that I want to even pay attention to. Those people were wrong before, and those people will be wrong again. In this moment, I don't even feel like giving the energy to even, like, if I give that energy, maybe they will succeed in getting my energy. It's not worth my while. Is what I'm really, I'm interested in maneuvering. My days spent in sitting with people and looking, charting the course of the future, how and when this settles, what are the courses, how can we support people right now, how that, clients and people who are asking us questions about what will happen, how to give them the right direction, how to give them extra support maybe that they need at the moment. So this is where my time is going, and this is where my productive time, I believe, is deserved to be gone. I don't want to lose that. I will entertain myself if I find some extra time. I'll go meet some friends, but I don't want to give any time to looking at. I've not watched a single piece of information coming out of this media bashing. I've looked for information from two, three sources. I've selected my sources where I want. Local newspaper, one international news channel, and that's it. That gives me enough, which I need to know. Other than that, I'm keeping myself away from that.
Right. And you mentioned something important. You're looking at the situation, which is what we are facing right now, and now you're looking at methods and ways of getting out of it by creating new course of actions, new strategies. Tell us about that. A lot of people who've invested in the UAE. Let's talk about people who've taken mortgages and who've recently taken homes. What is your one piece of advice for them? Suddenly, they might be thinking, "Oh, because of the situation, the prices might drop, and we have a huge mortgage to pay." What's your thought on that?
Jatin, my approach before this and within this, the overall approach is the same.
Mhm.
You have to be always cautious, allow for things to happen. Uh, Triggers are not known. I'm not saying that you should plan for a war, but you should plan for some crisis. And in that crisis, you have to keep a safe distance financially and economically. So you cannot tread very close to your boundaries. This is my advice, even in the best times. The problem is, in the best times, people call that advice as being very overly conservative, overly, and not taking advantage as much as advantage can be taken of the market. But I stick to that. And because of that philosophy, when we hit something like this, that philosophy just becomes more valuable and gets heard more. So nothing has changed fundamentally in my way I think. Just now it is being relevant. Uh, but it is thinking based on that relevance changes.
Mhm.
And even if it is not relevant in the time when everybody is just going one direction, you have to always provide a safe distance for the other direction. And I will say the same again. Even right now, some people will go in one direction saying, the market is going to go down. And believe me, and COVID was one example where everybody was proven wrong. And I'm not saying the opposite will happen. What I'm saying is, don't be completely shocked if the opposite happens.
Yeah.
Because the number one principle in while making your predictions is that you could be wrong. And you should provide for that in the time that you're investing. You should provide for them in the time that you're disinvesting, or you should provide for them in any scenario ever, in any asset class, in any geography. So that fundamental principle does not change.
Right. And with the situation that's going on right now, do you see or have you already started seeing some of the homeowners selling in distress? Are any distress deals available in your current network?
So I'll give you an interesting ratio. Yes, there are,
Mm.
right? There are some knee jerks, and those people are more or less trying to evaluate if there is a buyer, if what level the buyers are.
Mhm.
I am not sure if they will transact at the levels that I might produce the offers to them at. I also don't know, what is their real intention to evaluate what is the value of their property or whether they really want to get out. But I'm sure that there will be all kinds.
Right.
But the ratio that I can tell you currently, out of the 20 conversations that I've had, I have one person who's told me, please get me out.
Right.
19 have told me, what is there? How
To
can I
buy.
take advantage?
Yeah.
Yeah. They are not saying what is there to buy like on the shelf. They are saying, are there deals?
What's the opportunity?
What is the opportunity? If there is an opportunity, let me know.
Yeah.
So this is the 1:19 ratio at the moment.
Yeah.
About this 19 also, I want to clarify. I don't know at what level they want to transact.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that is. But I can tell you one thing. I don't know if there is down or up. I don't know if there is down, how down. But one thing I know, that this down and this bottom or this floor, whatever that floor is, will be found very quickly, because everybody who has to panic will happen at once. And only from there, that trajectory will again go up. So people who are looking or keep waiting for more and more to happen will find themselves in a different situation. And if somebody will act on those situations, will be very few. Like in stock market, like any other market, people don't time the bottom very well. Neither do they time the top. But this is a knee jerk. Some people will have a very quick knee jerk, and only those people will exit this market. Everybody will
They stay invested. Because in my network, I've spoken to at least 25 to 35 people who own properties and who are quite active in the real estate market. Since the crisis started, and I'm telling you, I had a conversation just before coming in here. Somebody in my network called me to ask me if there is a deal available for a 4-bedroom in the Palm. and they're looking to buy 2 to 3 villas if there is. So people are actually calling and asking for deals to buy, and I've not had one call for someone who's looking to sell. That talks a lot about the confidence that people have in the leadership and the country itself.
Jatin, I want to ask you something.
Yeah.
What has changed for those people who came here, back in the country they came from? So the reason that they left or their capital left, has something fundamentally changed in that country for them to change their mind? I still believe that UAE was way high in the ranking on various matrices. One of the matrix that was unknown was not known to anybody. So people put a question mark in front of that matrix. But people decided to leave their country and come here because that matrix was hugely skewed in favor of UAE, right? Otherwise, you do not leave your home country to come somewhere else.
Yeah.
The matrix has not changed. Only the question mark has actually been now answered. People are forming in their mind what this answer looks like in the end. But we will have an answer once this settles.
Hmm.
Once that answer is established, that matrix will factor in that answer and still be in the favor of UAE, is my belief.
Yeah. And that's my belief too. Yeah.
So nothing has changed. And I've had this personal conversation. I ask people, would you go back if this continues? They say no, because we don't feel that fundamentally anything has changed from where we came.
Yeah, so we've been torn in. Obviously, there's a war going on between two different nations, and we've been impacted by that, being geographically close to one of those countries. And I think this geopolitical situation can change and happen to any country for that matter. But the fundamentals, like you said, in ground zero hasn't changed. We still leave the doors open, like you were just mentioning a little while back, and life is going on the way it is. Obviously, back of your head, you're thinking, and you want it to stop, which is how you live in peace and grow. But we are all here to build. We are all here to grow. We're happy with the life this country has provided us, given us, and the quality that there is. And we just hope and that this gets sorted really quick, and we focus on what we do best here, which is live a great quality life. Right? Tell me, if I have 2 million dirhams right now, and with what the situation is, do I keep it, hold it, or do I invest? And if I invest, where?
So the thing is, right now, there is no floor that has been decided by the people, right? Because the people who are panicking are also not pulling the trigger, by the way, right? They don't know. What I can tell you is that if the reason for that was to buy your first home, your rent will cover that in a few years. You should probably be the first one to take advantage of that. If you're an investor looking to make money, you have to know. First of all, you have to get somebody who knows how to tread these waters,
Hmm.
right? Because people have been here before in financial crisis, in COVID times. People understand the fundamentals of this country. And by the way, they are much different from the financial crisis, and they are much, much better than that. So people who know how to tread this will be able to tell you which kind of investment to go in. The third thing is that there will be a time to act very quickly. Um, but I hope you have the sense, or I have the sense, or anybody who is doing has the sense to act at that moment, because that moment will not last
Yeah.
for a long time.
Mm. There will be a window of opportunity.
There should be. And this is actually from the people who are panicking.
Yeah.
And the future is anybody's guess, but the best guess for future, it's a guess still, just to give you that disclaimer.
Yeah.
But the best guess for future is history. And I've done a lot of research in the last few days on situations like this. And every situation has ended up with quick economic recovery
Yeah.
right after the war. So that's one thing. The second thing is, if the war drags on, if the things or the situations drag on, the whole world will have different forms of issues. So if you are invested here and if you have a knee jerk and you take a haircut, wherever you take that money, you might have a further haircut in what you do.
Yeah.
So you have to be very, very sure of what and why you are doing what you're doing. And if I can tell you, the best 3 steps in this is do not panic.
Yeah.
Don't be the panic seller that you and I are waiting for, to deploy your 2 million, for example. The second is, once you reevaluate the situation, you look at the new opportunities and how to realign in this new reality.
Yeah.
Whatever that reality might be, it might open up higher, lower, little bit here and there, but we will have a chance to reevaluate that.
Absolutely. Off plan and ready properties. I think a very hot topic. I see a lot of reels, people saying off plan is going to be severely affected. What's your take on that?
There is no generic answer to this. Real property has full deployment of cash. You will not have to worry about future liabilities. But if I'm a smart investor and if I know what I'm doing, I can play into the leverage of off plan more so now than ever,
Okay, interesting.
right? But again, as I said, you need to have a very steady hand about this. You cannot panic after taking decisions. So you need to be really, really, and I'm telling you very honestly, very few people know how to handle this, but they will take the most advantage. And I can give you an example from our city. There was a time in 2014 where similar times were going on financially for this country. And a lot of developers gave flexibilities. And people who took advantage of those flexibilities on those times, you can look at the past, they made a killing. They made the most amount of money because they entered at the time of fear, right? We are going again in the time of fear. So whatever you do, whether it's ready or off plan, unless you're buying the wrong product with the wrong packaging, then there is an opportunity which will be not presenting itself again.
And when you look at Ras Al Khaimah,
Yes.
and as you know, the prices were uh, about what 2,500 dirhams per square feet. And Ras Al Khaimah, if I'm not wrong, you're the expert. What do you think? How much of an effect it's going to have in Ras Al Khaimah?
It's a very, very good question. And I have a very, very contradicting opinion. I'm sure people will be like, what is he talking about? But I'm telling you, I have more sure than ever about this. The Wynn Casino, which is the trigger point of all the economic activity in Ras Al Khaimah, is set to open next year. They're almost done. They're opening it. There is nothing which is changing there. There is a supply which was coming to cater to the demand that will be there for the Wynn. I predict that that supply might get a bit delayed, that further supply might get a bit delayed. And the supply which will come to the market will not be enough to cater to that immediate demand that Wynn Casino will present.
Right.
So the rental incomes that people were predicting are going to become higher than what they predicted.
Interesting take, right? And you also mentioned some time back that in moments of crisis and moments of deep fear, like we're facing right now, there are also great opportunities, but only few people can really make the most of these opportunities. So tell us 2, 3 different factors or we should be looking in, or what we keep our eyes open when a deal like this comes through. What should we be looking at?
We should be looking at the premium of risk. So the premium that you're getting for taking the risk has changed. People were taking risk with very low premiums because they were perceiving the risk to be low. The funny thing about risk is when the premiums are higher, the risk is actually lower because the risk is mostly realized. So we have realized the risk that people were not perceiving earlier, and now the premiums are higher, right? But actually, it should be opposite, right? I'm saying, but this is how financial markets, this is how real estate works, and that's where wealth is made. When people were perceiving the lowest amount of risk, is where probably the highest amount of risk was because there is a room to go down. There's a room for something to happen.
Yeah.
When something has already happened, there is a room for something to not happen.
Yeah.
So people are assuming that things have happened and that's why the price should be low. Yes, the price, let it be low. Now that risk is lower for something further to happen. So enter the market and enjoy the premium. So this is across. Now you asked me what should be looking for. This should be your lens. And then you look for high, within that low risk, high premium environment, look at the lowest risk and the highest premium.
Yeah.
Simple.
But and you think developers will come out with slightly better offers, payment plans to entice more people to buy?
That is individual to individual developer. That is need based. There will be some developers which would not need to do that. There will be some developers which will actually have the same mentality that I'm telling an investor will have. They will say now the premium is higher for developing more, the risk is lower. I want to double down. There will be some developers which will be already over leveraged and they would have taken bigger risks at low premiums earlier. They would have to give up their profits to somebody who takes that new risk for them, and they will have to give that premium away to the financiers which come to save them.
Right.
And this is the role I want to play in this coming market. And we've done that before. So I am looking at it almost like a repeat telecast. Of course, the complete different scenario, complete different trigger, but economic behavior uh, more or less is similar. This will happen very quickly as a knee jerk, and then because of that, we'll have a very quick recovery mode
Right.
instead of the cycle going downwards for a while and upwards for a while. So yeah, this is a cycle on steroids.
Yeah. Yeah. And just before the crisis hit, the land was difficult to get. Say if I were a first time developer and we're looking for land, the prices of the land were very high and they were also very difficult to get. Where do you see that moving? In which direction?
Same thing that I just said. The risk premium was not available. That means if you developed the land, the money that you would make would be very less compared to what you should make because the land prices had gone up. And some people, again, this can be controversial, but I'm going to be very open because I promised myself that I'm going to say my opinion. Some developers had need to develop because they had created monstrous teams. Some developers had lack of understanding and they were paying higher premium.
Hmm.
And those developers who understood the correct premium were actually having to take a backseat because they did not really see the opportunity versus the premium risk proper. So this category now will see and get the risk premium. The real developers will enter the market with real premiums for them to exploit. The people who had created these big machineries, they will have to slow down. They will have to look at their house instead of the market, and they will be busy for the next 1 year to 1 to 2 years
Compensate.
to compensate.
Yeah.
And there will be risk premium exchange
Right.
where
Right.
their premiums that they've got will be taken by somebody who will take their risk away or help them in some cases. So this is going to happen.
Yeah.
The landscape is going to have a very interesting shift.
Yeah. And I've heard that in tough times, the commercial property prices drop more than the residential property prices. Is that true or a myth?
I don't know such a thing, so it's a myth for me. Um, Again, the thing is that this is a very interesting market, right? Commercial, residential are all kind of linked. I can understand, like now that you're saying it, I can understand in India, maybe residential prices don't get affected because people are going to live there even without any job. Here, everything kind of goes more
Interconnected.
interconnected. We had a crisis of lack of commercial, like we had no development of commercial for a long, long time.
Mm.
And we had a lack of supply of commercial,
Yes.
not only in terms of the commercial developments, also in terms of commercial land available. So I'll be happy if it cools off a little bit because then it'll give me even further time to exploit that opportunity.
Right. And what about mortgages? I know you're not dealing with mortgages directly, but what about mortgages? Do you think mortgages will also take a hit because of what's currently going on, where people are a little scared to take in new properties? This will be more a cash driven market where people who don't mind and are less fearful will put in their cash who wouldn't need mortgages.
So, Jatin, investors have a unfair advantage. People with more money have an unfair advantage. They can play with bit of their money, right? So, this is the first people who come into a fearful situation. The person who has got X capital only is not able to take that decision, and I understand why. And I would not recommend them to. So, the mortgage buyers is typically the end user and people who need bank support. And that's a leverage involved. Fortunately, unfortunately, fortunately because I hope they're not that adventurous, but unfortunately because if they're not adventurous, they would not make the kind of money people will make. So the opportunity will be available to people who will be able to take that call, even with smaller capital than they uh, can. Right? They will see the temperature uh, of the water go up before anybody does, because they would have invested 10, 15, 20, 30% fresh capital earlier than anybody else will. So the mortgage buyer plays a longer game, smaller game, uh,
And risk appetite is
is lower.
lower.
So this is actually the time for bigger investors to
Yeah.
make more money. I hope I can help a few people who are not so big investors kind of also take advantage in some way. But yeah,
Yeah.
usually that's what happens.
So out of 1 to 10, how bullish are you on Dubai?
Long term, I'm very, very bullish. Short term, I'm very, very bullish on the opportunities that it will present.
So that's 10 on 10 again.
That is absolutely 10 on 10. I'm personally, I'm very bullish.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm very bullish because you see, pricing is a subjective, relative subject,
Yeah.
right? The movement of pricing is something that presents opportunity.
Mm.
This is going to be volatile in whichever direction. Even if it goes in the opposite direction, it'll go very fast, because now people who are sitting in the fence will all jump in together. Or if they jump in, or some jump in, the others who are bystanders will then feel, shit, if we don't jump in now,
You missed the chance.
so we are going to have a FOMO again.
Yeah.
At what levels do we start having that FOMO? I
Yeah.
don't claim to know that.
Yeah. Right. Of course, this is not a very happy situation that we are in. But we've lived here for a very long time. We know what the country and the city offers. It's a great life, safety, security. Your kids being brought up in a absolutely wonderful environment. And I think a one-off incident of this kind of thing that's happening right now doesn't change that in the long term. Right?
Yeah.
There might be some knee jerks, like you said, where people, for a very short time might leave, come back, but when they come back with this extreme excitement with how we've dealt, how the country and the leadership has dealt with the situation. So I'm very bullish. I think we are going to bounce back and bounce back better than all the crises we've had in the past. And we are only heading in one direction.
Only not the people who have left. The people who have stayed, their resolve has become like, sometimes you don't know about your own resolve until you
Yeah.
test it by yourself. And speaking for myself, I've had a mind shift of I've been here for a long, long time. But I think there has been a difference in the last few days in my mindset,
Yeah.
and it has become stronger towards UAE.
Yeah.
I might not shout on, Instagram about how, how I am doing or whatever, but I know within myself it's become stronger. And I know that's the case with,
Yeah, that's the case with me. I
I just stayed away from saying all the people who've stayed, but I'm saying most of
most
them,
of us.
right?
Yeah.
So number one, it kind of grounds us higher degree to this,
There's a deep sense of loyalty.
which has developed recently, right? Like
Yes.
there was
No, maybe there was always there lying somewhere
We
deep
did-
in your heart. We didn't know.
yeah. So we didn't know how deep it is,
Yes.
right? Being on deep talks,
Deep
but
on deep talks.
deep talks, yeah. But we did not gone to the depth of it,
Yeah.
and now we are exploring some depth of it. We don't know the entire depth of it. Hopefully, we don't need to know.
Yeah, we won't have to test more. But it also brings a lot of happiness and it brings a lot of satisfaction The last few days when I've been thinking about how deeply I feel about this place, it just it just grounds you, and it tells you, wow, this is something that I didn't know, and something new that you learn about yourself. And it just drives you even more, and you want to do more things for the place you live in and give something back at a time where it needs it.
And even as individuals, since we did not, you and me, I'm sure we have not been in this situation before, it has made me go into the directions which we had never need to go in, like mentally. And I'm happy to know that part of me,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
In some sense,
yeah,
because I would have not known
yeah.
otherwise. I'm unfortunate situation. And about the situation, I want to tell you something that I've been feeling, that it also gives us a sense of understanding of how we end up as humans, how we have ended up doing this.
Yeah.
Like, this is so sad that as humans, we have lended ourselves to a situation, as a generation, as a human race, we are doing pretty badly. I would say that when life is so beautiful and so meaningful, and we live on this planet and everybody has so much to get and give, we are doing this. But that's
But
what I
also, when you look at from another perspective, and obviously, if you and I start talking about another topic, it'll be probably nice.
it'll be a different 5
Yeah, probably till
podcasts.
tomorrow. But if you look at the human history, I think we're living in the least barbaric time in our human evolution and history since the beginning of time. So this is, even though with all the destruction and war, is the most peaceful time of human history.
Yeah, but that's not enough. We should have grown much
Exactly.
smarter than that,
I
right?
hope we
We
get
would
there.
we should have evolved, but maybe that also says that we are not really evolving. We are just going around in circles.
Yeah, just the way of fighting or
It
has changed.
and
Yeah.
I don't know the reasons have
Yeah.
changed probably, but
Well,
anyway,
that's us. That's us bringing back to what we're here for. So, okay, this was amazing, Ash. I think gives me. I was anyway very sure of what I'm thinking about the real estate market, but speaking to you just makes me 100% sure and more confident. So, I would also advise that if you don't have to sell, don't sell, don't panic sell, because that will be an opportunity for people who have deep pockets, and they'll cash in, they'll buy your villa, apartment, or whatever that is, your property, and then when the market comes up, sell it at a much higher rate.
no, I'm not here to say that. I mean, if I say that publicly, a lot of people will not sell, and I'm not going to get the opportunity for my other investors. So, but
We're
yes,
trying to help our audience here.
yeah, okay. Your audience
Yeah.
should get some value.
But anything else you want to add before we?
No, I hope this gets over soon.
Yeah.
Um, the and I hope that everybody remains safe wherever they are. I also want to sum this up as, once this ends, then we will have a better sense of, we will have a better sense of the ground that we stand on. A lot of things are becoming clearer, but the conclusions will happen once this settles. So I just wish and hope this comes to a quick, immediate end.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it.
Thank you. And Dubai, and UAE, we stand with you.
Absolutely.
And there's no other place in the world we'd rather be apart from being here.
My threshold are very far away.
Yeah.
I know that much.
Yeah.
Everybody has a threshold. I've created my mind in my mind only for me. It's very far away.
Yeah.
I know that how much it has for me, value wise, for me to evaluate other things.
Yeah.
I'm here, and I'm actually happy talking to you.
Yeah. No,
Sitting here.
our life is going on as usual, right? We're still doing everything. We'll probably go and watch the game later tonight.
I'll join you later. Maybe.
Yes. Well, thank you for being here, Ash.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Pleasure.